everybody. Welcome to the channel. Alright, my name is Iku, and here we're going to be commenting about anything and everything that involves the political sphere, that involves social issues, just so that we can, number one, try to figure out a way to solve these issues and to get our voices heard as much as possible, alright? Because a lot is happening and we unfortunately have no say in a lot of these things, alright? So make sure that you guys please comment, like, and subscribe so that we can continue to grow as a family, just making content about anything and everything, alright? Now, today I'm going to be talking about this whole immigration issue because, of course, it is a hot topic. It's not just a hot topic here in South Africa, but it's a hot topic everywhere across the world, right? You look at England is currently struggling with their immigration issues. The US, Trump has been going on about the whole wall and the border. It is a huge issue. Now, while I am on the side of patriotism and I believe that if you're going to enter into a country, you should be documented and it should have legal filings and there should be a limit to how many people from a specific place we take, I still don't agree with a lot of the violence that is going on, right? We know that rioting and all of that always just leads to looting and even more crimes being committed than like people actually intended, which is a huge problem, obviously, for not just kids and for women, but for society as a whole. People are going to lose jobs, they're not going to be able to make it to work because of closed roads and all of that. It's a whole problem on its own, but we're going to get into what I think the main focus should be, alright? Firstly, I'd like to say that we need to understand that governments kind of sort of orchestrate a lot of drama around us for their own benefit, right? We saw how they tried to revive a specific virus recently, and a lot of people were like, no, kind of caught you on that. We're not doing that again. And all of a sudden, an issue that we've had multiple times over this past 10 years, right? I am now 23, so from, I think it was like 2012, 2018, we had the same issue with xenophobia and all of that. And when you look at the events that were happening around this time, you realize like it kind of sort of goes hand in hand with certain things that they were trying to sort of kind of distract us from, right? You look at how they tried this whole uprising thing with the xenophobia in, I think it was 2018, 2019. It obviously didn't really go that far. A lot of people rioted, there was a lot of killings that were happening, some of which a lot of people have speculated that they were people from, that kind of sort of orchestrated them so that everyone would be like, hey, look, they did that. And so what we need to understand is a lot of these events, they aren't organically formed, right? It doesn't just come from me having a bad experience, telling everyone in my streets, and then all of a sudden everyone in the area is like, girl, we're getting rid of them. It doesn't start like that. It starts with small hints on social medias, with bot accounts on social medias that these people program so that you can get into the topic, get into talking about it, get into fighting about it, get all riled up about it, until we get to a point where we are at right now. They tried to distract us with the Hunter virus one, right? We all saw that one. Everyone called bullshit. Everyone was like, baby girl, that's not happening. And so now we see this new thing that's kind of sort of could have been a standstill of the country, but obviously because a lot of people are like, we're not doing that, right? It hasn't gone there. And the question that I would like to ask everyone, what do you think the next step is going to be? Because I think what they thought was everyone was going to be either against or for it. People weren't going to take a centralist view, right? And now that we have the centralist view where everyone's like, we get what you're saying. Document these people, get rid of the criminals, that's cool. But don't put the country at a standstill because we actually still need to work for electricity that's gone up and petrol prices that have gone up. And what's the next step going to be? What are they going to do? What are they going to try and distract us with, right? Everything that the governments have done so far that has ever caused any type of violence, uprising, or just some type of disturbance because of a distraction that is bigger than we think, right? We don't realize that we are being controlled by not even the millionaires, the trillionaires, the billionaires, the people whose names are never really out in the open. Like, they don't necessarily say, like, I sponsored that, I built that, the money that is paying so and so, yeah, that comes from me. They don't necessarily, we don't know about them, they're working in the background, but what we need to understand is these people are still there, right? I'm going to put a link down below to an episode from a YouTuber who I love, Candace Owens, who kind of sort of described why a lot of the wars and all of that are happening at the moment are happening. Then you realize, like, you and your opinion and your livelihood don't really matter, right? Because what's going to happen once you get rid of all these people? What's going to happen once they either send them home and they spend billions on the transportation of millions of people? What happens after that? It's not like they've invested in skills development for people. And while we have programs that are there for the youth, that empower the youth, that are there for the youth, I know from a personal level that a lot of these programs are oversaturated with a lot of fraudulent applications, right? And let me explain what I mean by fraudulent application. I am the person who's in charge of recruiting and the HR and whatnot, right? Government programs that are specifically designed for people like, the young school leavers, the dropouts, the people who became young moms and all of that, to help them get into the workspace. But because I know I have 6 cousins who are sitting at home and haven't done anything, that's a stipend that they get, right? They get a specific amount of money. I register them, they never go in for classes, they never actually develop those skills, but somehow they still get paid by the government. That is what I mean by fraud, and that's what's happening everywhere across the world, not just here in South Africa, the world. That's what a lot of people don't get. These issues span way beyond our horizon, right? It is so hard for me to even understand, like, how it is that a few big names cannot care. Like, they don't care. Their only goal is to enrich themselves as much as possible, right? And that means just taking. Starting wars in the Middle East and taking. What about the young people who can't even afford to keep, like, a roof over their head? Now they gotta pay double for, like, petrol and stuff. Like, that's the type of things that we need to be talking about, that we need to be louder, right? But avoiding as much violence as possible, right? Because what, unfortunately, a lot of people aren't saying is a lot of the violence does lead to nations kind of getting into their own little spat, which then leads to more problems between them, which is going to lead to increases in prices on imports and exports, and it's just going to lead down a whole path of just nonsense. That's it. Like, everything is just going to be more difficult. We're going to go through life and we're just going to constantly be struggling. But what we need to do is we need to address the issue that our political leaders keep telling us, oh no, we stand with you, we understand where you're at. But they're not doing anything about it. If you hadn't noticed, like, a lot of them, their topics and their speeches have been, we need to understand this and this and this, we need to understand this and this and this, but none of them are actually doing anything about it, right? None of them are actually saying which side they actually stand on, and that's because they don't necessarily have a side that stands on us. Like, with us, there is no option for these people. These people work for not one big name, but multiple big names that all just at the end of the day are like gangsters, like, in all honesty, we're being run by mafias. Like, it's not even funny. The reason why drugs are so predominant in the country is because they let them come in. Because they gain from having imports and exports of specific drugs and of specific people, specifically ones under the age of 18 and of a specific gender for other uses. It's known though. I feel like a lot of people know lot of our leaders don't necessarily care about us. They are literally trafficking children and women left, right, and center because they work for their own little bosses. And so that's what we need to be fighting. That is what we need to be getting into the nitty-gritty of, and like getting all the information on them and getting them out of power so that at least something new, something bigger, something better, something stronger, something more pure can actually take over. Alright? I obviously have a lot more to say, but I don't want to like sit here and just blah 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 in front of the camera by myself. Please do comment down below anything that you think about the topic, and we'll just continue discussing it further. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have a beautiful day. Stay blessed, stay safe, and remember that truth will always save us.